will say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right, we thank you, first and foremost, for the opportunity to interact with each and every one of you individually and all of you together collectively. For each and every time you allow these interactions to take place in this manner, you are allowing there to be created and co-created between us a link, a bridge, a connection between our world, your world, and the co-creation of a new third reality in which we can both interact more readily. We thus then are also allowed to experience through each and every one of you willing to interact with us the gift that you are giving us of allowing us to experience that many more facets of the multidimensional crystal of creation. So we thank you for that gift. We would like to begin this transmission in the following way. We would like to underscore many of the things that we recognize have been said this day by many of the speakers that have been interacting with you. Many of the things that have been discussed are in very many ways aligned with many of the things we have shared with you over many of your human years. The idea of the rotational forces is paramount to our understanding of existence and the nature of the structure of physical reality, along with an underlying tetrahedral template structure. That, in conjunction with the rotational spiral forces, is how physical reality increases itself, expands itself, moves itself forward in these spiral formations. The idea that you have discussed about the idea of the multiplicity of various parallel Earth realities is also in keeping and in alignment with our understanding of the existence of creation, the nature of physical reality. And these kinds of things, this idea does not have to be taken on faith. You can understand this simply as pure physics. The idea is that there is a multitude of parallel physical realities, an infinite number of parallel reality Earths, each of which is representative of a different idea, a different expression of itself, some very similar to each other, some very different. The idea that it is up to you to decide what information is pertinent to you, the idea for you to have discernment about what is true for you, is also something we very strongly concur with, and the entire reason why we deliver information in the way that we are delivering it, to give you the opportunity to decide what is true for you. For that is the only real test of self-empowerment, is if you can make up your own mind and know that you have the free will to determine what kind of a reality you prefer and implement it and apply the information as you see fit. The idea thus then of all these notions that have been shared with you this day are things that we have been speaking of now for quite some time to the people of your planet, and will continue to do so in this way until such time as it is determined that you have said you are collectively ready to interact in different ways, to raise your vibrations up in different ways so as to create a new reality in which many of the things you say you prefer can actually come to pass, can actually manifest physically, can actually come to light. And that you can experience these things that you desire to experience on a day-to-day basis in physical reality, even though it will not be exactly the same physical reality you are experiencing now because of its vibrational difference. As has been often said, you are shifting your frequencies from one reality level to another, and this is so. But you are always shifting. You are shifting now. It is a natural thing that you do. You don't have to wait to shift. You've been shifting. You've been shifting all your lives. This is the way motion is created. This is what happens when you create the illusion of movement. The only way to create the illusion of movement is to actually shift from parallel reality to parallel reality that's slightly different than the reality you were in before. So you're shifting now, you're shifting now, you're shifting now, you're shifting now, you're shifting now. Through constantly shifting parallel realities. The idea is that you don't notice this so much because each new reality you shift to is very similar to the one you were existing in before. The idea of noticing the change is to create there to be a bigger difference between the parallel reality you shift to and the one that you were in before. That's when you know you're shifting. That's when you reveal to yourselves that you're always constantly shifting, and that learning to shift is not something you have to do. You do it automatically. You do it by your own second nature. It is natural to you to shift. This is the nature of how reality works. This is the nature of how change exists. So the question is not, can you shift? The question is, what will you shift to? And how different will you allow the shift to be based on your definitions and your belief systems of what you believe is possible for you? And this is why it is of paramount importance, as has been said this day, for you to really focus on the idea of the frequency, the vibrational frequency, the state of being that you prefer your reality to be, and thus then understand, based on what we have just said about shifting to parallel Earth realities, that when you change the vibration of your being, it's not that you change the world. It's that you take yourself, you shift yourself to a parallel Earth already existing on the vibratory level you have created within yourself. So it's not about having to force anyone else to change. It's only about you changing and taking yourself to whatever reality, whatever parallel Earth is representative of the vibrational frequency you have created within your own state of being. And thus then find yourself surrounded by other beings who already populate that world, but are already more representative of the vibrational frequency you have created yourself to shift to. Is this making some sense to you? All right. The idea here, again, is that this is simple physics. As many of your scientists are beginning to realize, everything exists all at once, all now, in a sense, all here. But you create the illusion of separation by creating differences in vibrational frequency. As each and every one of you goes to your homes this day of your time, after these interactions, many of you may sit down on one of your couches, you may pick up one of your remotes, you may turn on one of your television sets, and your TV set technology is a perfect analogy of what we are talking about. The idea is that you know that at any given moment, there are any number of dozens of television programs that are available to you at that moment that all coexist simultaneously. But you will only get the program that you tune your channel to. This is exactly how physical reality is holographically structured. Whatever vibrational realm you exist on, whatever state of vibrational being you choose to be, is the reality you get. What you put out is what you get back. Simple physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Simple physics. That's all this is. It's about creating the appropriate state that you prefer in your own being and allowing reality, in a sense, to reflect back to you the shift you have made in yourself. But you must understand that the opposite is also true. You cannot perceive what you are not the vibration of. If you tune your television set, to use this analogy further, to what you call your channel 2, you will not receive the program on channel 4. You have to tune your set to channel 4 to get that program. Likewise, based on the reality you say you prefer, if you do not allow yourself in your definitions, in your emotions, in your thoughts and actions and behaviors in life to exemplify the vibratory reality that you say you prefer to live in, then you will not be actually capable of perceiving any opportunities that could actually allow you to synchronistically get yourself, shift yourself to that reality. Remember, what you are not the vibration of remains invisible to you. Many times individuals wonder, why can't I do this? Why can't I get there? Why doesn't this happen? It may simply be an issue of that they are on a frequency, operating in a frequency domain that creates certain opportunities to remain invisible to them, unknowable to them, unimaginable to them. They will never even conceive of those ideas, nor recognize them even if they were right in front of their face, because they're not operating on that level. You have to be in the state to see the opportunities and the doorways that actually lead to that reality. This is, again, simple physics. It is a very, very, very simple concept, a very fundamental concept, but we understand that many people on your planet seem to have a lot of difficulty in relating to this idea and creating the kind of changes within themselves that they say they want to make. This all simply comes down to the notion of definitions, how you define your reality, belief systems, basically is what we are talking about. Because you do not have You cannot have an actual experiential reality except as is based upon the strongest thing you believe it can be. The strongest way you define your relationship to it and to yourself. All experiences in life are based upon, in your physical reality, in your physical dimension, all experiences are based upon the strongest definition you have bought into about that reality. There have been many, many discussions about the different kinds of realities that your probable futures may hold. And I say this, as has been said, they are simply probable futures. Nothing is set in stone, nothing is chiseled in steel. You have the wherewithal to understand that these are simply a function of the probabilities, that there is no the future. There are many, many, many possible futures. The idea, as we have just explained it, is whatever vibratory realm you exist in, whatever state of being you decide is true for you, will be, generally speaking, the future, so to speak, you will experience. And even if there are other people who think completely oppositely, who believe completely opposite of you, they will have their reality experience as well. The idea, again, is that you don't have to change your world. You simply need to shift to a world that's already representative of the change you wish to experience and allow those that wish to remain in the vibrational world that they have been in to remain there, because that earth will exist as well and does exist right now. All these parallel realities exist right now at the same time, just like the television programs. So, to further stretch the analogy, what this all comes down to by using the analogy of your TV program is to understand it all comes down to transformational vibration, TV. All right? That's what you're dealing with, transformational vibrations, TV. You decide what TV show you're going to experience, but you have to tune to that channel or you will not be capable of seeing that particular TV show you say you desire to see. Does this make sense? All right. Simple physics. That's all this is. Nothing has to be complicated about this unless, of course, you prefer it to be difficult and complicated, because I will never take that away from you if that's what you want to do. It is up to you to experience the idea of difficulty if you wish to, because that's a valid choice within creation. The idea, however, is you can understand that you don't have to invalidate difficulty as a choice in order to prefer the idea of smooth and easy transitions. Now, we are not saying you will not have challenges, but we are talking about the idea that those challenges can always be met from a positive and constructive vibrational state, and if they are met from that state, then any circumstance and any situation that occurs in your physical reality will always only result ultimately in a positive and constructive effect in your life, regardless. Here's the important point. Regardless of anyone else's intention toward you. That's the important point. You cannot be affected in your reality without your permission, without your agreement. So the idea is to get in touch with what you believe is true, what you define as possible, so that you will understand what it is you can and thus don't have to agree to experience in your chosen reality, because it's all by agreement. It's all by permission. No situation, as we have said many times, no situation actually causes anything. It is your definition of your relationship to that situation that allows you to experience what you experience. No situation itself causes pain, strife, or struggle. All circumstances and situations are fundamentally neutral, devoid of any built-in meaning. This is why we have often said, although we understand that this sounds strange in your language, allow us to further explain, the greatest gift you have all been given is that life is meaningless. You have no built-in meaning to anything. That means you have the free will to determine what it will mean to you. And by determining what circumstances mean, what the situations in your life mean, what life means to you, that's what determines what you get out of it, what effect it has experientially upon you. Again, simple physics. What you put out is what you get back. But what's there is an illusion, is a reflection in a sense, and doesn't really contain any substance until you empower it with your own energy to create an effect in your life. So regardless of anyone's intention toward you, if you allow yourself to maintain the vibration of your preference and relate to every circumstance that happens in your life, no matter how it looks, no matter what it is, relate to it knowing that the only thing it can do in your life is serve you in a positive way, then you, regardless of anyone's intention toward you, will ultimately only experience a positive effect and a positive outcome in your life. But you have to know that that's true. You have to behave as if that's true. You have to absolutely have a concrete definition that that is what is true for you. Now, again, this idea of shifting, this idea of vibration, again, all comes down to your definitions, your relationship to things. Many of you attempt to change the things in your lives by changing the outward ideas. And again, this is an illusion. It's what you humans call the cart before the horse. The idea, again by analogy, is that physical reality is very much like one of your glass mirrors. If you look in a glass mirror and you see your reflection, if the expression on your reflection's face is frowning, you don't go over to the mirror and try to make the reflection smile. You know that the only way to get the reflection to smile is to decide to smile first. But when you do, the reflection has no choice but to smile back. Now we understand that physical reality has a kind of density to it, may have a little bit of a space-time lag to it, so that things don't always necessarily instantaneously change to the reflection of the change within you. But that's wherein you give yourself the greatest opportunity to absolutely stand firm on the idea of the change that you decide you have made. Because very often you will test yourselves in the following way. You may say, well, I have changed, but I am not seeing a change in my outer reality. Therefore, something must be wrong. That's the test. The test is not whether the outside reality has changed to reflect the change you say you've made. The test is whether you respond to the outside reality differently than you did before, even if it still looks the same. That's what tells you you've changed. It's the response that tells you you've changed. Because when you thus then respond to everything from a positive and constructive point of view, then you give your reality the assurance. You give the reflection the assurance that you have changed. And you're not just giving it, as you say, lip service. Because when you base the idea of what happens in your outer reality to determine whether or not you have changed, you're giving your power away to the illusion. Instead of simply knowing that you have changed and behaving like you know it. It's that simple. It has nothing to do with how the outer reality looks. It has to do with how you relate to it, how you respond to it. That's what determines that you have changed. And then, when you hold fast to that assurance, then you can allow your physical reality within the space-time construct to take whatever time it needs to change and reflect back to you the certainty of the change you now know you have made within yourself by the way you now relate to everything in your life differently than you did before. Is this making sense to you? All right. Now this idea of your demarcation time frame, your 2012 time frame, can represent many things and does represent many things within your collective consciousness. And has again been said, the idea is that all these realities, all these potential outcomes are all true. But you decide which one you're going to experience by your vibratory state. That's why state of being is so crucial. The idea thus then, however, to put a different spin, a different idea, an additional idea into your 2012 demarcation time frame is that it is like a threshold, a crossing, and from our perspective, it is like the tipping of a scales. Before that time, the collective energy of your planet has been generally negative. But after that time, you will have finally tipped the scales and the collective energy of your planet will finally slightly be majority-wise positive. So it represents a tipping of the scale, where a sufficient number of individuals are creating the same frequency of the kind of vibrational earth they prefer, so that you can experience a shift to that earth, where from that point forward, the energy being more positive than negative, it can snowball, it can accelerate, it can expand, and continue to move in that direction, in that kind of energy. Your demarcation line of 2012 is also something relevant to us. And in that context, you have, many of you realized, that for quite some time there has been, in a sense, a kind of hands-off policy, a kind of quarantine policy of the Earth in terms of any kind of real, open, direct interaction between ET species and your own. After that time frame, that quarantine will be done. Now, that does not mean that spaceships will be landing everywhere the next day. What it does mean is this. It will no longer be us holding back from open contact. It will be determined solely by whether you are collectively ready for open contact from that point forward. So we pass the ball to you. It's totally in your court, as you say, after 2012, as to when open contact will occur between yourselves and other species such as our civilization. We will no longer be held back by our own philosophies, by our own laws, so to speak. It will be totally in your hands. We will still take that guidance from you as to whether or not you are collectively ready. Now, as we read your collective energy now, and remember, there's no such thing as a prediction of the future. There is only a sensing of the energy that exists at the time the prediction is made. All predictions are of the present, not the future. So when some psychic tells you something about the future, what they're actually doing is sensing the most likely probable energy that exists at the moment they're making the prediction. And if that energy doesn't change, then it has a high degree of probability of manifesting physically. But if it does change, then it'll go down another path. And the prediction, in a sense, by having been made and adding new energy, by making you aware of where the energy is going, can actually act as rendering itself obsolete. So it doesn't mean that the psychic was wrong if it doesn't come to pass. It means you changed the energy that was sensed at the time the prediction was made. However, in this context of open contact, because this is, from our perspective, these kinds of communications are the beginning of contact with your civilization, at least between your civilization and ours. So the idea of open contact, as we read your collective energy now, today, seems to be that the highest degree of probability is that it will occur sometime between your year of 2025 and 2033. Up to that point, there will be many other things happening that will lead up to it. But that's as we read the energy now. Now, you can accelerate that a little bit. You can even delay that a little bit. It's up to you. But in all likelihood, that open contact has a high degree of probability, because if it didn't, it is unlikely we would be talking to you right now. We would be talking to some other Earth where the probability was that high. But we're talking to you. So in a sense, you can use us as a barometer as well for how you're doing. The idea that you know these things are going on, that you know it's all about transforming your energy, the idea that you know you're expanding your consciousness and your spirituality is a barometer that you are, bit by bit, at whatever pace you're comfortable with, bit by bit, shifting yourself every moment to a reality that is more and more, every day, in every way, representative of the reality you prefer. It's all in your hands. It's totally in your control. Always has been, is now, always will be. You are that powerful. And let us address another issue that many humans discuss with us. The idea of Earth being some sort of backward planet. 2 words: nonsense. Understand that even though we understand that there are many difficult things that occur on your planet and many limitations exist, and that many times you often think of yourselves, when you compare yourselves to other civilizations in the cosmos, as some kind of backward kindergartners, nothing could be further from the truth. Understand that it takes a great degree of strength, a great degree of power, a great degree of courage to incarnate on a planet with that kind of limitation. We view you as a master class. Start viewing yourselves that way, and you will be astonished at what you can accomplish. You are a master graduating soul class that has found the way to transform great darkness and great limitation into great light. We call this the rubber band analogy. You all know the little thing on your planet that you call the rubber band. You know that when you pick up a rubber band and you want to shoot it in a particular direction, you must pull it back. The farther you pull it back, the farther it will fly in the opposite direction. This is the analogy of limitation and darkness. By allowing yourselves, by agreeing, by choosing to experience this degree of limitation for so many thousands of years, by exploring the idea of transforming that degree of darkness and that degree of limitation, you are pulling the rubber band that far back into darkness, that far back into limitation. So the farther back you go, when you finally let go, that much farther and that much faster will the rubber band fly into the light. That's what you're doing. That's your mechanism. You're building yourself up, all this momentum to transform all that energy in, relatively speaking, a sudden short burst of enlightenment, historically speaking, to fly yourself, to fling yourself, to hurl yourself forward in the reality that you prefer, in the vibrational state that you prefer. So, in that context, you're doing just fine. Allow yourselves to know that you are that empowered. Live your lives knowing that, and that will make all the difference in your world. We thank you for allowing us to transmit these ideas to you in this way. And in exchange for the gift you are giving us, we ask you now, in what way may we be of further service to you? You may begin with your dialogues, interactions, and questions if you wish. Oh, all right. Sirius the dog star speaks up.
Okay, take two, action.
All right, good day.
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind giving us at least 3 tips how to become a better channeler. Thank you.
3 tips. It depends on what kind of channeling you are talking about, of course, but the idea is that you are all channels. Remember, channeling is simply a state where you allow more of yourself to come through in a very creative way, without the idea of overcomplication, over-analysis. An actor who becomes the character is channeling. A singer who becomes lost in the song is channeling. Anytime you do what you love to do, without the recognition of the passage of time, you are in a channeling state. The idea, of course, is that channeling in the manner in which you are seeing it now, through this channel, can also be done to connect to other levels of your own consciousness, other consciousnesses within creation. Generally speaking, it shares a lot of things in common with what you call electronic circuitry. The idea being that you are creating a certain resonance, a certain frequency, by being yourself as much as you can, by being in your joy as much as you can. By acting on your excitement, that resonance vibrates through you and makes you a more receptive antenna to higher frequency domains, whereupon then you can access information from those domains, be it direct access on your own, or simply through the devices of other beings that may inhabit those dimensions or domains of experience. But fundamentally, pragmatically, practically, physically speaking, one of the strongest things that can be done if you are going to be automatic writing or vocal channeling or anything of that nature where you're using a device or delivering information in that way, is to actually have individuals asking the questions. For if you're just sitting on your own, wondering about information, you can receive it instantly, telepathically, but your physical mind may wonder whether or not it's really just you or something else, not that it matters. But the point is when someone else asks the question, in a sense they are acting as a ground, as a circuit, completion of a circuit, and they are pulling the information through you. So you don't have to think about what's happening, they just reach through you with the question and pull the information from wherever it needs to come from. You understand?
Yes.
Does this help you?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Bashar.
And you good day.
I've been hearing for the last several weeks from different sources reports of, and not just recently, but for some time I've been hearing reports about sightings of what appear to be, well, Star Wars above certain cities. I think even Whitley Strieber.
That information
talked
is
about
not
it.
available through this terminal at this time.
Okay.
Now, before you continue, let us say something about that answer. You must understand something. As everything progresses, as the transformation moves forward, we are now more and more every day only transmitting certain vibrational frequencies of information. We understand that these things may exist in certain realities, but we also understand that those are not the parallel Earths that most of you say you prefer to buy into. Therefore, from these points forward, we will find that for one reason or another, whether it is simply not of the vibration that we are now representative of, or whether it is simply not our domain or is not appropriate for us to answer, and you must receive this information from someone else, the general answer to such information will generally be that information is not available through this terminal at this time. This is for the purpose of guiding you in the direction of the vibration that we represent, that you have said that you prefer. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Well, a related question, I think, in that same vein, which
Or
we
artery.
may or may not get the same answer.
Yes.
Starting from the first time I heard it, I think was from Gordon Michael Scallion, about and we heard it again today, about the West Coast breaking off and falling off and Phoenix becoming a port. And
That information is not available through this terminal.
okay, can I just, I'm not asking, well, yes, I am going to ask.
Yes, you are. You see, this is all an exercise in finding out just exactly how insistent any of you may be on a reality you say you don't prefer.
No, I don't prefer, I definitely do not prefer that reality. But what I was going to ask was,
Yes.
was this more of my sense of it was that a number of years ago, it was more of a possibility than it is now.
Stop. Yes, that is true, but understand we are talking about the idea of different parallel Earths. The idea of those kinds of destructive experiences are still highly probable in a particular Earth or several parallel Earths. But the question is, are they still probable in the parallel Earth you have taken yourself, you have shifted yourself to? So when you say it is now less probable, all you're actually saying is you have shifted your frequency to a parallel Earth reality where that is simply not a high degree of probability as an experience. But it doesn't mean that you've changed the world you were on. It simply means you've taken yourself to a planet where that's not a high degree of probability as an experience. You follow?
Totally, yeah.
And you see
Thank
the difference?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Okay, thank
Does
you.
that help you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
all
you.
right. Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day.
You said that if we were to meet you face to face before we're ready,
Yes.
we would feel differently about our fellow human beings.
That is not exactly what we said. What we said is, being that for many generations, your people have functioned with compartmentalized consciousness and have suppressed the idea of certain belief systems and feelings within themselves and have operated out of fear, the idea of coming in contact with a being that is operating at a high holistic frequency would be that the result in many cases would be that the high holistic frequency would overwhelm your compartmentalized frequency and begin to force to the surface things that you are not ready to integrate, causing psychotic shock within you. So the idea is sharing this information, allowing you to take whatever time you deem is necessary to raise your frequency and meet us halfway, is what will prevent that kind of discordant encounter from occurring. Does that make sense?
Yes. Also, when you listen to us, are you hearing our higher self and our personality self at the same time?
We are looking at you as a complete spectrum of ideas. We are seeing many patterns, and in fact, as we have recently discussed, let us reassure you of this. Even though, yes, in a sense, through the channel, you are speaking with us, you are actually speaking to your own higher self using us as a mask.
So then which...
Do you understand that?
Yes. So then which part is our higher self and which part is your true essence?
They are blended in.
Okay.
For the purpose of these conversations, we allow the probability amounts to fluctuate according to the need of the interaction. At any given moment, it might be 50% me, 50% your higher self. It might be 30% me, 70% your higher self. It might be a variety of these things. It depends upon what serves you at any given moment, but it's always fluctuating, it's always changing.
Okay.
But the idea is that this is a way to get you used to the notion that you can communicate with your own higher selves very easily. And we are simply facilitating your ability to do that by letting you know that that's what you're doing right now. So in a sense, we are channeling through the physical channel, but we're also channeling through your own higher self. Mm-hmm. You follow?
Yes.
So, by using us as a template, by familiarizing yourself with our frequency, thus then you can have a familiarity with the frequency necessary to access your own higher self, so that when you think back to this interaction and you think back to this conversation, you will be in the proper state to communicate clearly with your own higher self in exactly the same way you are speaking with us now. So we are luring you to your own higher self frequencies by doing it this way.
So do we sound like we have a multiple personality disorder because our higher self and our personality self are often at odds?
When you are out of alignment, that's when the disorder comes. The idea is to understand how to create a multiple personality order.
Yeah.
Because you are multiples. You are multidimensional. So the idea is just to understand how to harmonize that instead of compartmentalizing it and causing discord between the various frequencies, thus then having disorder. Yes.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes. One last thing.
Yes.
Do you remember being born?
Of course.
What's it like?
Ecstatic. Do you understand?
How does it feel?
Ecstatic. Ecstatic.
Can you elaborate?
In our society, in our civilization, at this time, you will find that even though we once functioned very physically like you do, in terms of the creation of physical beings through the sexual act, through the physical birth, that no longer exists in our society now that we have moved into a dimensional reality where we are quasi-physical. Thus then, what passes now for the male and female energy creates an energetic bubble, in a sense, a energy bubble in which a consciousness can simply create a body that thus then functions as a child on our planet. Mm-hmm. Thus then grows. Do you understand?
Yes.
This is ultimately what your species is heading toward, but it will take a while before you get there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bashar.
Nice.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day.
How are you?
Perfect, and you?
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you.
How's Anima?
Perfect, thank you.
Saibo?
Perfect, thank you.
My kids?
Perfect, thank you.
Give them my love.
Done.
Thank you. I have a question about the impact. You say that
Yes, impact. Mm-hmm. What we have said about impact, in a sense, is that you already all have all the impact you will ever have in your society just being in your society. You don't need to worry about creating more impact. You can't create more impact than you already have just by existing. But when you do something, when you act, when you make yourself known in your society and you do the things that are representative of your true self, your joy, your excitement, it's not that you're creating more impact by doing that. It's that you're revealing the impact you already have.
Right.
You see the difference?
I do, sort of.
All right.
My question is,
yes,
if Martin Luther King had just stayed in Montgomery, being minister at the Baptist Church, rather than going out and doing what he did in the world, how would that have been?
That's another parallel reality that does exist. Understand again when we say all these parallel Earth histories all coexist now. Just like all the television programs coexist at the same time at any time you're watching your television. All variations of your history already exist on different Earths. You just decide which one you want to shift to.
Right, okay.
Based on your definitions and your strongest beliefs and your state of being. Does that make sense?
Yes, thanks. On the tape Creative Conflict, you say that you guys still have conflicts?
No.
Challenges.
Well, yes, challenges, yes, of course.
Could you
there are many things we don't know. There are many things we still explore. This is fun. This is exciting to discover new things. Of course we have challenges, but we face them with constructive, positive energy, and they always thus then have a constructive, positive effect in our society.
Can you describe one?
Yes. We have described before the idea of our encounter with a species that are called the Thuk. When we first encountered the Thuk, we found that when you are facing them, any member of their society, it is like you're interacting with anyone. But as soon as you turn away, as soon as you're not beholding them, as soon as they're not in your presence, you forget you ever saw them. This was part of their nature, part of their being. And we were fascinated by this ability. To not know them, we knew something had happened, but we had no memory of what had happened until we were interacting with them again. Only direct contact produced the idea of remembering that we had had direct contact. As soon as we didn't have direct contact, there was no memory of having direct contact. We thus then learned from them how to do this too. So that many of the interactions we now have with many humans on the planet have already happened. We have had many direct contact interactions, physical interactions with many humans, but you don't remember. The idea thus then is that we use the rate at which you remember you had these contacts as a barometer for deciding when you're ready for conscious contact. Are you understanding this?
Yes.
The idea is that many of you have actually already had literal contact, but you don't remember. The rate at which you do remember snippets, the rate at which those memories return, whether consciously or in dreams, or however they return, the rate at which you begin to remember that those contacts have happened, we use it as a barometer to gauge when you're ready for conscious contact.
And how can we speed up the rate?
By being yourself as fully as you can, by acting on your joy as fully as you can, by acting on your excitement without a moment's hesitation. Why? Because the physical sensation you call excitement, joy, love, and creativity is your body's physical translation of the vibratory frequency that represents your true natural self. And anytime you're willing to act on that to the fullest of your ability, then you are staying squarely, like the compass needle, pointing to your true north. Anytime you deviate from that, you cause complication, difficulty, strain, struggle, and strife. All pain is the result of resistance to your natural self. Understand?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hello, Bashar.
And a you good day.
You talked earlier about how, different people's experience is as if it was a different television channel, and some people...
Not as if.
It is.
It is.
A different television channel or different television program.
A different reality altogether.
So let's say a person vibrating at channel 10 can see all the channels from 1 through 10.
Yes.
But a person at 9, for instance,
yes,
can't quite see 10.
Yes.
Now,
that's the nature of that TV program.
Now,
yes.
There are a couple of people in my life that are very important to me, and
all right.
They seem to sort of stick their toe in the water of
yes.
the channel that I'm on,
yes.
and then they go back, and
yes.
then they stick their toe in. Now, my question is,
yes.
I want them to be on my channel, at my level, on my program.
Why?
Because I love them, and I think they would have a better experience.
Wait a minute. Do you love them?
Yes.
Unconditionally?
Yes.
Be careful. Look in your dictionary. The word unconditional means without condition.
I understand.
Not except for this condition.
I understand. So my question is,
yes.
I believe I understand the concept of unconditional love. Thank you.
All right. Then why do you need them to change?
I don't necessarily need them. What my question is there anything other than simply to be myself in my vibration as truly as I can be that I can do to help them stay longer at the channel that they can obviously see but aren't maybe quite ready to tune into?
No.
Thank you.
All you can do is be a living example of what's possible for them to choose. You can share ideas, but they must be allowed to choose what they believe is right for them, or you're actually not supporting them and thus not supporting your own choice. Make sense? Does that help?
Yes.
Thank you.
Namaste, Bashar.
And to you, good day. Shivai.
Thank you. You spoke earlier about our being on a higher vibration. Can you? And I've heard you speak.
I didn't, but I did.
Yes, Bashar did. I would love to know, and I've listened and I hear you about being our true self and the joy.
Yes.
What else can we do to accelerate our enlightenment or our raising our vibrational frequency?
Perhaps I have not made myself clear. There is nothing else that needs to be done but be yourself by acting on your highest joy to the best of your ability, with integrity, without expectation, every single moment. That's all you need to do. To accelerate as fast as it is possible for you in your chosen life path, in your chosen process, to accelerate. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. I know that you humans love to complicate things and make them seem like they have to be more difficult than that. But it isn't. That's all you have to do. And thus then, at whatever rate, if you do that, at whatever rate your life does unfold is the appropriate accelerated rate. Awesome. And when you trust that, you will see that it is so. You will experience that it is so. It's only when you don't trust your own process and your own rate and your own life that things paradoxically actually slow down. Because if you're not allowing what is to be what needs to be, if you're not using what's happening as if it's supposed to be there as if it's not, then you're not using the stepping stones that get you to the next place. If you deny any aspect of your life, you are removing the stepping stone you need to get to the next one. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And
what about things like meditation, chanting?
What about them? They are all, from our perspective, what we refer to as permission slips. The idea simply being that all tools, all techniques, and all rituals are all fine. You decide what works for you. Don't use what doesn't work for you. Use what works for you. But all they actually are doing is acting as permission slips to align with your particular belief system. That's why you're attracted to it. To allow you to give yourself permission to be more of who you are by using that technique. So it's just a permission slip. You don't need it. But if you feel you do, then use it. But that's what it's doing. It's simply triggering within you the willingness to give yourself permission to be more of who you are. You understand?
Thank you, yes.
It's that simple. It's all that simple. Really. Does that help?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one last piece from that place. Would you do me the honor, please? Can you look into my soul? Would you let me know from what you see on my vibrational frequency, any messages, any gifts that I can share, anything you see?
Are you an artist?
I wouldn't call myself that.
What would you call yourself?
I don't know. That's what I guess I'm looking for.
What kind of creative expression do you feel interested in?
I love speaking. I love dance. I love teaching.
Is dancing not an art?
Yeah, that's why I said in some ways everything's art.
Well, all right. So are you expressing yourself creatively in all the ways that you would like to as fully as you possibly could? Hesitation means no.
Right.
So the only message would be, what's holding you back from acting on the things that excite you as fully as you could be?
I guess.
Do you have an answer?
The old adage, if I'm going to talk the talk, I want to walk the walk. That
so
being
walk it. What's stopping you? That's the question. What definition, what belief is preventing you from taking action where you can?
I guess feeling I'm not ready or not good enough.
Not ready for what?
To step into a role of leadership.
Why not?
Call it what you may, credentials or
credentials.
Or what would cause people to want to listen to me? Like, I guess it's not knowing my gift or not knowing what it is.
If you have something to share, there always must be someone to receive it. As we have said, there are no one-sided coins. If you have the head, there has to be a tail or there's no coin. So if you exist, and obviously you do, whatever it is you have to share, whatever it is you feel you need to give, there must by definition be someone who is waiting to receive it, or you wouldn't exist in your reality with that thing, that urge to share. So the sooner you get on about the business of moving forward in being who you are, the sooner you will simply see that the synchronicity of your life will determine the pace at which you need to grow and learn the things you need to learn by providing synchronous opportunities to learn those things in exactly the appropriate amount of time in which you need to learn them, so that by the time you need to do a certain thing, you will know what you need to know. The point again is trust your life to unfold exactly as it needs to give you what you need when you need it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
But the only way you will get to that point is to take the first step. You're at least ready to take the first step, yes?
Absolutely.
Then take it. And then when you take the first one, take the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And you will simply see your life unfold as it needs to, presenting you with the appropriate opportunities, meeting all the right people at the right places at the right timing, in order to learn what you need to learn, to do whatever it is you say is an expression of your joy. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
This is a complete kit. It functions automatically. Excitement is the organizing principle and the driving engine of your life. Trust it. It works. It's a kit. Use it. But you have to take the step in order to initiate it. You have to act on your excitement to the best of your ability every moment that you can in order to activate it. And then you will see excitement is a thread. It leads to all other excitement no matter how it looks on the surface. Whatever excites you, no matter how it looks, whether it seems connected to anything else or not that excited you, if it contains the excitement at the moment, that's the most exciting thing you can think of to do, that you have the greatest degree of ability to act on it, because the excitement tells you this is connected to that, even if it doesn't look like it is. Make sense?
Yes.
Follow the excitement, not the surface appearance. You humans even have the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. You cannot tell by how something looks on the outside because it's an illusion whether it's your truth. You can only tell by that vibration that's within it. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I was wondering if you could tell us from which density you speak.
We are moving from fourth density to fifth density as you are going from third to fourth. We're climbing up the ladder together.
Do we ascend at the same time, or?
We are linked to some degree.
Okay.
There is a triad between our world, your world, and certain levels of the star system of Sirius, and we are all going up together as a triad.
Is that why you're here, to help us?
Yes, even as you help us.
What would you have to say about the resonating fear, the increasing fear in society today? Would you say that as a message?
We would say you can use it in a number of ways. You can use it to drive yourself into a frequency that allows you to experience a feel for reality, or you can use it to allow yourself to shift into a frequency where it puts you in touch with knowing what you are by getting clear examples of what you are not. Sometimes you humans need to see what you're not more clearly in order to help you understand what you are. So the idea of bringing all the fear, bringing all the violence, bringing all the negative energy up is getting it all out on the table, getting it all out on the surface and saying, is this what we prefer? Yes, no. Thus then giving yourself a choice by seeing clearly what you don't prefer, what you do prefer, and making a choice accordingly. That's our suggestion for how to use the idea of fear. Fear is just a messenger knocking on your door saying, hey, you've got belief systems that are out of alignment with your true self. Bring them back into alignment, because fear is just your own energy. It's your own energy being passed, being filtered through belief systems that are out of alignment with your true self. So fear is a friend telling you you're out of alignment. That's why you're feeling your energy as fear instead of joy. So I'm telling you, you have these belief systems, find out what they are, bring them back into alignment, and you will transform the fear back into joy, because it's the same energy. You're only working with one energy. You only have one energy. You only are one energy. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Does that help?
Thank you.
Thank you.
is it best for us if we see what's there's this disclosure project going on in this world to bring about awareness.
Yes.
Seems a lot of fear is being sent out about different aliens and what the government's doing, this and that.
Yes. And as we have said, you decide what you believe is true and vibrate in accordance to the reality of your preference.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what anyone's intention is toward you, as we have said. It only matters what you, in your vibratory state of being, prefer to experience, and that will be the effect it has in your life, regardless of anyone's intention toward you.
So would we be better off to just allow everyone to be and not try to influence?
You cannot influence. I am not saying that you cannot get together and act in ways that are beneficial. I am not saying that you cannot assist others. I am not saying you cannot share information and suggestions for how others might be able to change in positive ways. That is not what we are saying. I am not saying just allow people to get away with murder. That's not what we are saying. What we are saying, however, is that if you present the idea of an alternative that's positive, constructive, self-empowering, then whether or not someone else chooses to abide by it still will have no effect on your life other than what you agree it shall have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Now, I'm fascinated by your civilization. I'd like to learn maybe a couple small details.
Oh,
I found a way to learn about culture through food, assuming you still eat in
We
your
do
quasi...
not.
No?
No.
How about when you did? Do you remember
When we did,
food?
we ate different kinds of things that are akin to your vegetables, and ultimately we synthesized through our direct consciousness as a species one particular form of vegetable, very similar in appearance to your lima bean, that sustained every single thing we needed, and then after that point we no longer needed it. Thus then we receive energy directly at this point. We no longer ingest.
Oh, darn it, I wanted a recipe, but thank you for your time, Bashar.
A recipe for what?
For some food from your civilization.
Well, I can give you something from the past.
Okay, yeah.
When we did eat.
Oh, excellent.
You understand?
Yes, give me a recipe.
All right. You will find, well, of course, we have to use what are similar analogies on your planet, for they are not identical to the substances on ours, though there are some similarities, all right?
Yes.
All right. You will find that if you take the idea of what you call celery, yes?
Yes.
All right. If you will infuse these stalks of celery with the idea of the juice from what you call the beet, you will find thus then, by adding also a small amount of the juice of the orange and allowing this to steep for several hours, you will have a very interesting delicacy.
I will definitely try that out very shortly.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Only on joy.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I was wondering, how do you change or shift your belief system to tune into the channel you wish to experience?
Do you mean physiologically? It is simply an intentional thing.
To change your belief system, how do you find negative belief systems that you have that are preventing you from...
You use your emotions. In other words, if you are feeling a certain idea called fear, self-doubt, sorrow, sadness, these ideas, if you do not prefer them, the first paradoxical thing, of course, is not to ignore them, not to suppress them, but to feel them fully, to own them, because you cannot change what you do not own. The idea, thus, is to this recognize that these things are there, acknowledge them, own them, and thus ask, what would I have to believe? This is the question. What would I have to believe is true about my relationship to this situation in order to feel this way, in order to react like this? As soon as you sit quietly, having asked that question, you will begin to see that your higher mind, your higher self will help you, if you're willing, if you're not afraid, again, if you're willing to dive deep down and find what the beliefs are that are generating that experience, that emotional experience. So you can use your emotions to find those definitions. Secondly, as soon as you identify the definition, it is gone. Because any belief, any definition you actually consciously identify that is out of alignment with your true self, when you identify it, will automatically appear illogical and nonsensical. It won't make sense. That's how you know it's out of alignment with your true self. So as soon as you identify what the belief is that's out of alignment, it will automatically appear illogical to hold on to it, and in that second, you will no longer have it. So identification is release. You understand?
Yes.
Does this help you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace and love, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I just wanted to say I was born on August 7th, and I had 7 in my sphere of consciousness recently, which led me to explore the 7 cosmic rays, and which led me to the violet flame, and I was hoping you could just give a few words on that.
It is simply a recognition of a very high frequency domain. The idea of your own spiritual connections to rarefied frequencies. You have some very strong relationships that you have formed with certain kinds of frequency dimensional domains that you are exploring throughout this life. The violet flame simply represents one of the ones that you are very familiar with from a non-physical level, as a spirit. Is this making sense in your language?
Yes. Can I strengthen that connection?
Of course. Guess how?
Meditation? Or?
Guess again.
Can you help me?
Thank you. Joy, excitement. Follow your joy. Act on your joy. Yes, meditation can assist you, but what is meditation? A permission slip. If it excites you to meditate, then you are acting on your joy. You follow? That's all you have to do. It's all you have to do is act on your highest joy. Everything else will fall into place in terms of the things you set up for yourself in this life to experience. You made, in a sense, let's say, appointments in this life to experience certain things. You will experience them if you just keep moving forward as yourself. Paradoxically, in a sense, the only way you can miss an appointment is to spend time worrying that you will miss the appointment. Otherwise, you can't miss the appointment. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Does that help you?
Always.
Thank you.
Blessings, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I'm here through my highest joy.
All right.
Traveling in the unknown. I'd like to say blessings to everybody else for being here as well, just sharing this experience. My question is, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and me and my wife are aware of the changes that are happening, aware of alien beings,
yes.
And I just wonder how we translate that across to a child who is being taught academically in a world that I believe is changing and doesn't really fit into what she's being taught.
As the parents, you cannot find within your imagination a way to transmit this information to your child.
So in a sense, I suppose what I'm trying to say is to be ready for the questions that are going to come from my child.
Yes.
To things that are going to be happening. And for
yes,
her.
And understand that in many cases your child may know more than you do.
Yeah.
Remember, the children being born on your planet at this time are not just a new generation. They are a different species. They remember more than you did. The idea thus then is to simply be in the proper state to address the things that they will question you about that are representative of these things, and to provide an environment, an interactive environment that allows them to explore what excites them in the manner that excites them. It's not that they can't learn all the different things that they may need to learn on Earth, but the idea is to provide them with an environment that allows them to explore these things in a manner that's representative of what excites them, so they will have the appropriate context in which to relate to it to themselves. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Interactivity, the idea of simply presenting to them different options, letting them work out the consequences of the ideas that you present to them will be one of the strongest things you can do for your children. Not telling them what the consequences will be, asking them if they understand what the consequences of this action are, what the consequences of this decision might be. Let them explore their ability to determine consequences from choices, and you will give them the tools they need to live life to the fullest. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Does that help you?
Yes, thank you, Bashar.
Thank you. Also, remember, there is a reason that storytelling is so strong and so lasting. Many of your people talk about the idea that there are archetypes within stories, but many of you don't realize that story structure is an archetype within your consciousness, and that the most lasting information is delivered in the version of a story. That's why it lasts, because it's part of your psyche. That structure, that story structure is part of your natural psyche. And when you deliver information in the form of a story, you hit the chords that pluck the strings, that create the vibrations in your psyche that all fall into place, and you understand the entire point of the story, and thus hold on to that information forever. So tell creative stories that embody these ideas you wish to share. Yes?
Yes.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you, Bashar.
Thank you.
Salam Bashar.
And good day to you.
Thank you.
Shiva.
Allah. My name is Saeed. I represent the Alien Shift Group, New
Yes.
Hope for Humanity, Bashar.
Yes.
I would like to thank you for joining us. I would like to welcome you.
We thank you for the co-creation and the opportunity to transmit in this way.
All the alien shifters, Starfleet, ground crew, and all the infinite beings who around us in different dimensions are watching us, transmitting and receiving. We love you and we send you a good positive energy.
We thank you. Our unconditional love to you all, and our greatest message of reminding you is that you are all equal to every being in creation.
That is a very good explanation.
We are not better than you. We are just different.
Can we ask you, how would you define Elohim and Allah as two religions versus Creator God or Elohim or Allah?
Elohim is the idea of a reference to a race of high-dimensional beings. Allah, or God in that sense, or all that is to us. All that is made of God. If it is truly the idea of something that is omniscient, omnipotent, then it has to be everything in order to be so. So everything is made of God. God is all that is. Thus then it is holographically structured so that every component is also all that is from a particular point of view. So each and every one of you, each and every one of us, are all the different ways that all that is has of experiencing itself.
Nicely said.
Why, thank you.
Also, may we ask you how many alien groups or ET entities in this domain with us at this time present in our dimension?
When you say present in your dimension, that could be on or off the earth. Thus then, at this particular moment, you are being interacted with by, at this moment, 17 groups. At this moment.
And how can we make this interaction faster? And
you know the answer to that already. We have already answered it several times today.
Right.
Thus then, allow yourselves to understand the importance of the simplicity of the idea. Be yourself as best as you can. Act on your highest joy every moment that you can to the best of your ability, with integrity, without expectation. Be open to working in balance between the physical and higher mind so that you can function as a whole person. Do not overtax the physical mind and give it more than it is designed to do. Let the higher mind do its job.
So the alien shift, it is in process, and we are shifting with you.
You are shifting now, shifting now, shifting now, shifting now. That was 4 different entire universal realities. Completely, utterly, and totally. Take me literally. It is not an analogy. This is a new reality. 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 This are new realities in totality.
Exactly. So nothing can stop this shift. No negative force can come in between us.
Nothing can stop shifting. The issue is any idea of alignment with negative vibrations will simply determine how you experience your shifting. It's not about the idea that the shift can be stopped. It's about the idea of what kind of shift are you going to experience based on your own chosen frequency. So whatever it is you decide to align yourself to as an idea, as a frequency, will determine how you experience the shifts you are constantly going through anyway. Now, yes, you have some degree of collective agreement. And that's why when you shift to another reality, every single moment, you can, to some degree, still experience representative versions of other people in that reality who are also agreeing to share that new shift, that new reality with you. But bit by bit, as you go through this time frame that we have called the span of 5 years, from 2010 to 2015, and 2012 being in the center, you are also heading for what we call a vibrational splitting prism. The idea is that now you can have a jumble of vibrations, but when you go through that splitting prism, all the vibrations will start to diverge. There will be a time for many years where you can still cross-connect, but as the vibrations diverge, it will be harder and harder and harder to live in a reality that you are not the vibration of. And thus then you will see that those that are not of your frequency eventually will no longer be around. You will simply no longer see them. You will wonder where they went.
Thank you. Bashar, do you see Los Angeles and Southern California being in danger of any earth changes that we should leave at this time, or it's very
There
crucial?
is the potential in the next year or two for you to experience a little bit of shaking. We wouldn't worry about it.
There is no shift into ocean or any pole shift that...
Is that the reality that you prefer?
No.
Then we will assume you will not shift to that earth. Because that is a real earth. The question is it yours?
We are staying here. We love this area.
Thank you.
And we love you.
And our unconditional love to you all. We will extend to you once again our deepest appreciation for this co-creation and allowing us to transmit this information to you in this way. We bid you all an extremely fond, exciting, and creative good day.
Thank you. Salam alaikum.
Have a good time? Good. Well, thank you all for putting this together. Thank you for having us here. Thank you for being here. We'll see you again. Thanks.